you guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk about specifically how to stop food cravings. Now, I know a lot of people have problems with food cravings, especially if you're trying to eat a healthier diet or you've just kind of made the decision, okay, I'm going to stop eating junk food, I'm going to start eating a whole food, plant-based diet, and then the time comes, that trigger moment during your day, whether it's 4 p.m. or it's after dinner, and you just begin to crave junk food. In this video, I'm going to talk about 6 ways or 6 tips that can help you get over food cravings and stop them for good. So there are 2 reasons why you may be craving food or just overeating in general and feeling like you can't stop. And those would be deprivation and unconscious eating. So what I mean by deprivation is just when you've restricted yourself so much, you say, I'm gonna go on this diet, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna lose 50 pounds in a week. You get sick of your weight, you wanna restrict your calories, and there's only so long we can actually keep up with that pace before we're ravenous and we just start craving everything in sight. And eventually you just give into the cravings and you just eat way more than you ever set out to eat before you started restricting your calories or heading on a diet. And then eating unconsciously also makes us want to crave food because we're just eating throughout the day. We're eating because it's lunch, we're eating because it's breakfast, we're eating because it's dinner, we're eating because there's leftovers and I don't want to put them in a Tupperware. These things really do add up. Just kind of when you're bored, you just start craving more things to eat. So with deprivation and unconscious eating, then you might think, well, what is the answer? And so that is my second point, which is eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. This is so important to curb any cravings or curb any urges to eat foods that you really don't want to eat if you really want to stick to a healthy lifestyle. This is eating to fuel your body 90 to 95% of the time with foods that are going to provide nutrients, minerals, vitamins that you need for vitality and health. This is where the whole food, plant-based, vegan diet comes in. Those satiating foods that are lower in calories but high in volume, like fruits and vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, starchy vegetables, grains, beans, legumes. All of these things are going to keep you full, keep you satisfied, and actually provide the nutrients, the minerals, and the vitamins that you need to begin to curb food cravings. Because when we're actually physically full and we're not hungry all the time, we're not gonna be craving foods that are bad for us. So in order to not get to the place where you're craving some kind of food that's bad for you, it's really important to make sure that you eat at the whisper of hunger or right when you start to get a little bit hungry, and you stop when you feel satisfied and not overstuffed. Some practical tips to do this would be adding vegetables to every single meal, even breakfast. Veggies are great because they provide lots of fiber, they provide vitamins and minerals and protein, and it's something that you can add to every single meal to help you stay full longer. But the great thing is that pound for pound, they are the lowest calorie foods that you can eat, so you can have them in abundance with every single meal. And the healthy bulk that comes along with vegetables makes you feel like you actually ate more than you did, which will then later on in the day curb your cravings. Because when we start a day depriving ourselves and the hours mount upon hour and you just cannot, there's a certain point where willpower will run out and you will begin to give into those food cravings. And then another related tip is making sure that you're drinking enough water. When I talk to people who I coach with my weight loss course, a lot of times they're not drinking any water. So make sure that you're having water about once an hour, at least a cup of water, to help you stay hydrated throughout the day. Dehydration, oftentimes you mistake for hunger, and then the hunger turns into food cravings. So just make sure that you're having enough water, aiming for about 3 to 4 liters a day to feel hydrated and satisfied, and that also will help you eliminate food craving. And then another byproduct of water that I've talked about a lot of times is that if you continue to do this over time, you'll see your skin begin to glow, you'll flush out toxins, and you'll lessen headaches and puffiness throughout your body and just overall feel better and look better. So just to round out that last point, I will leave a video down below on my suggestions of what to eat on a whole foods plant-based diet, or how to start if it's new to you, what kinds of food are gonna provide you with the most fuel and also help you curb those food cravings. The next point that I want to bring up is binging, and binging is closely tied to craving foods because we think about these foods that we want and we're craving, and then all of a sudden you've made this decision ahead of time that you're going to go out, you're going to blow it, you're going to binge, you're going to eat as much as you want of these foods that you've been craving. But it all comes down to that decision point right before you decide to do it. So my definition of binging is eating anything against your own will. It's eating large amounts of food that you've been craving in a short amount amount of time and just feeling completely out of control of the behavior. This is something that I really struggled with in my past, and I felt like I had no control over it. But it all begins with our thought life and the connection between our thoughts and the food that we consume. So having that food craving and thinking about it long enough does not actually equate binging, it's just a thought. So catching yourself before you go down that rabbit hole of craving foods and then heading for a binge is what's really important here. You can sit with that thought. You can choose to go for a walk, or choose to have some water, or choose to have something healthy to eat instead before you go down that rabbit hole. Another powerful thing that I like to think about when it comes to binging or overeating or just giving into food cravings is how I will feel afterwards, after I've done that. Say I've had a really productive day of eating foods that fuel my body. I feel really healthy, but I'm starting to get those familiar food cravings, which is just a pattern in my mind. If I think about how I'm gonna feel afterwards, that always helps me. I'm gonna feel probably bloated. I'm gonna feel a little bit of guilt and shame that I went down that path after doing so well all day. And I'm gonna remember that a binge always ends badly. It never ends well. I always feel either sick to my stomach or I feel upset that I kind of went behind my own back and did this. The next point I want to talk about is urges. And urges to me are just another kind of way of thinking about food cravings. A craving could actually be an urge. And an urge is just a really intense desire caused by our thinking. We have this desire, the craving, we reward the desire, and then we want to perpetuate the desire. The more we reward the desire or the food craving, the stronger it's going to get. You don't have to overeat. You don't have to give into your cravings. They're just a thought. And when you can kind of get that mindset going, you're going to be in control of food cravings and not let them control you. So when you resist your food cravings or you resist the urge kind of feeling, it doesn't really work. So the solution is to just allow it to be. Allow this thing. I want cookies right now. And what am I gonna do about it? Am I going to act on that urge, or am I going to act on that food craving? Or am I gonna just let it be, let that thought be for 5-10 minutes, however long it takes, and then just kind of get over it. Allow the thought to be, let it pass, and move on with your day. That is how you succeed, and that is how those food cravings and those urges and that voice inside your head begins to diminish and get smaller and smaller, where you have control over your food and your food doesn't have control over you. The example that I use in my weight loss course is a toddler in a store wanting some kind of toy or candy or something like that. Of course, you can't give in every single time and buy your kid the candy or the toy. And so you just have to allow it. You have to allow the screaming fit to happen. You have to allow the injustice of it all, the embarrassment in the store, having your kid screaming at the top of his lungs, but eventually it will subside, it will get quiet, and eventually the urge and the food cravings will pass. The solution to something like this is allowing those feelings to pass and then planning ahead. If you want to have some cookies at some point, just plan ahead. It makes things so much less volatile when you have control over your own food decisions. You can control your cravings by allowing yourself to plan in advance for them. Say, okay, I'm going to eat for fuel. I'm going to have a really healthy, whole food, plant-based diet. And then on such and such a day this week, I'm planning to have a healthier version of some kind of thing that you've been craving, right? You still get the craving satisfied, but you have a healthier version. You decide ahead of time how much of that thing you're going to be eating, and you don't just go hog wild on it. This is a way to begin to structure the way that you eat, to be able to eat for fuel, but also include little treats or indulgences that are on the healthier side that will not derail all of your progress and your hard work that you've been doing. And that leads into my last point, which is excuses. Just make sure that you're not lying to yourself about these things. A lot of times food cravings can come and you think, well, I did good all day long, or this is hard and I don't want to do it. You can come up with numerous amounts of excuses for why you don't want to reach your own goals, and it's really quite self-sabotaging. But if you can realize that these excuses are just your own self talking you out of what you really want long term, then you have power over it. I really believe there's such a huge connection to our thought life and how we eat. If we want to really lose weight, or if we want to change our diet to be healthier, or if we want to set any kind of goal, our thought life is so, so important. And to know that you have the power and the strength to start over at any point. If you blow it, if you give into your food cravings, you still have the power. If it's 11:59 p.m. On the day that you screwed up, you have the power to start over at 12 a.m. and you have the power to start over at the next meal if you've kind of just come off tracks, and you can do this. So those are my tips for how to stop food cravings. Yes, a lot of them deal with the mind and the eating connection. A lot of times when I work with people, they don't think they have an issue mentally or emotionally connected to food, but I feel like most of us do have a connection emotionally or mentally to food and the patterns that we get into. So it's really important to examine these things, and then also on the other side of it, make sure that you're eating for fuel with foods, whole plant foods that are going to really fuel your body. And actually, as we start to eat more and more of those whole plant food sources, the cravings for the junk diminish, and you go back and you have some junk and you realize that it doesn't taste as good as you thought it would, or it just tastes fake. And those are those moments that you begin to have momentum and be able to see your goals come to fruition when it comes to weight loss or disease prevention or reversing disease. So yeah, this is something that I get really excited about. I love helping people with this. If this sounds like something that you want help with or would like to delve in deeper, I've got a vegan weight loss course that goes in depth into all of these things plus so much more, and I would love to help you out on a personal level. And if not, take these tips for what they are and begin to incorporate them, and you will have control over stopping your food cravings. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you're subscribed so you know when I have new videos coming out. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Now I know there's hope for me, 'cause love is something you two make me believe.